It meant politics had nothing to do with it. But as the hearing started,
it was always about politics.
Judiciary Panel Chair Jim Jordan.
The good chairman started by saying it's all about the politics. Well, maybe for them, but for us, it's all about the rule of law.
And top Democrat Jamie Raskin as the hearing split along partisan lines. Smith abandoned the cases after Trump retook the White House, citing longtime Justice Department legal opinions that sitting presidents cannot be indicted. Sagar Magani, Washington.
TikTok has finalized a deal to create a new American entity, avoiding the looming threat of a ban in the U.S. that's been in discussion for years. The social media platform company signed agreements with major investors including Oracle, Silver Lake, and the Emirati investment firm MGX. European shares were mixed after Asian markets advanced today. U.S. futures turned lower, with the contracts for the S&P 500 and the Dow Industrials down 0.1%. This is AP News. Two Rhode Island lawmakers want to dump the state's Mr. Potato Head license plates.
Since 2002, Rhode Island drivers have been able to drive around with Mr. Potato Head license plates. Mr. Potato Head maker Hasbro has had its headquarters in the state, and 2002 was the 50th anniversary of the character. But Hasbro has decided to move its headquarters to Boston, and two Rhode Island lawmakers say Mr. Potato Head is no longer worthy to be on a state license plate. Republican Representative Brian Newberry says Hasbro's relocating to Boston will cause untold economic harm to Rhode Island, including a loss of tax revenue. Newberry has introduced legislation to stop the state's Division of Motor Vehicles from providing Mr. Potato Head as a specialty license plate. The plate has cost drivers $40, with half that amount going to the Rhode Island Community Food Bank. I'm Donna Waters.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
Here's your weatherology forecast. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme cold warning remains in effect, then a cold weather advisory goes into effect Friday afternoon. We'll see a few spotty flurries at times here early today, then skies will become mostly sunny with a high around 0. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Then for tonight, we'll see increasing clouds, a low near -7. Saturday, a chance for some snow here, cloudy skies, a high around 10 above. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, 3 below.
Take your driving to the next level in a brand new Porsche from the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park. Browse and test drive our extensive selection, like the 2026 Porsche Macan. Right now, lease the 2026 Macan for only $949 a month for 39 months. Discover performance like no other when you visit the Porsche Exchange in Highland Park or PorscheExchange.com. 8,519 due signing for qualified buyers. Excludes tax, title, license, and dock fee. No security deposit required. Expires 2/2/26.
You're listening to WCPT 820, because facts matter.
Welcome to Choose Views with Richard Chew. Get ready to dive into a world of insightful conversations and thought-provoking discussions.
As progressives, our job is to have an all-inclusive, full-on assault with all of our players.
A show that focuses on moving our political, social, economic, gender, and cultural conversation forward.
And all of our players means all of our players.
It's Choose Views. And now, here's your host, Richard Chew.
Good Friday morning, and welcome to the January 23rd, 2026 edition of Choose Views, 773-763-9278. Find my show on Facebook Live, TuneIn Radio, and YouTube. Email me at richard@WCPT820.com. You can follow me on X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Blue Sky, Threads, Spoutable, and Substack. And, of course, catch all of our shows by subscribing to our WCPT podcast on Apple Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify, of course. There you can get Choose Views, featured interviews, Joan Esposito, live, local, and progressive. Driving It Home with Patty Vasquez. It's The Democracy Stupid with Edwin Eisendrath, Out Chicago, and our other great shows and interviews that take place here and on the station, on the big WCPT network. And, you got to do that other thing that I tell you to do every day, which is make your way over to heartlandsignal.com, our digital news platform. That's where all this good stuff is happening. And, man, we are loaded up over there. Let me give you guys a quick rundown, then we'll talk about what's happening today. Over at Heartland, Scott Perry baselessly claims federal law enforcement agencies are rife with, quote, left-wing insurgents. Give me a break, Scott, you knucklehead. By the way, I'm going to be snarky today until we have our guest on, and I might be snarky then too, because it's cold. Indiana State Senator Cindy Carrasco, a Republican from Indianapolis, is authoring a bill to gut responsibilities. Now check this out, y'all. Police civilian oversight boards, saying that citizens are not trained enough to have a say in police officers' conduct. That the civilian doesn't have the same training, so they don't know really what they're speaking about or reviewing. Wow. So that would be like saying, Cindy, and I'd love to talk to her and have a debate with her about this. So that would be a tantamount to saying, so men who don't have a vagina should not be able to lean into the conversation around a woman's right to choose or any medical concern of a woman. Is that kind of what you're saying? I'm saying I didn't say doctors that are men that might be gynecologists. I just said like regular everyday guys that run for political office that used to be a talk show host or used to be like on Fox News. You guys see the trend here or the through line. That would be like saying, somebody else doesn't. Oh, I know what we could say. We could say this one, Henry. That would be like a woman who doesn't live in a certain community, that's not experienced in living in that community, shouldn't have a say on the behavior of others in that community. I don't know. You know how I get sometimes. My brain, even though it's cold, it stays at least in third gear. And we'll move quickly into fourth and fifth and sixth gear. But that's the kind of stuff our folks at Heartland Signal put together. They're sharp. They're just good folk. They do their research. They work hard, and they post some really wonderful stuff. Here's another one. This is another one I thought would be kind of interesting. Civil rights lawyer Nikema Levy Armstrong calls Pastor David Easterwood to resign over his role as a religious leader and alleged acting ICE director in Minnesota. This is that whole conversation around some of the protesters that showed up at the church where he is a pastor and apparently, doubling as an ICE official. So her feeling is, how can you possibly hold both roles with integrity? And I don't disagree with that. And by the way, the people out there that are trying to figure out how they're going to try to indict Don Lemon, this is freedom of speech. And there's been other times where, so you mean to tell me that the people who've shown up at churches to protest when that church is pro-choice, or leaders of that church are pro-choice, and there have been people that have shown up there to protest, how come they're not getting arrested? Interesting. I wonder why. And then let's see, one more that I think this was a little bit kind of fun, a little bit of laughter. From Freedom News TV that we posted on Heartland Signal. Border Patrol Commander Greg Littleboy Bovino is denied access to a Minnesota gas station, Henry, as protesters were jeering and beeping at him. So hold it a little bit longer, Greggy. Anyhow, y'all, make your way over to heartlandsignal.com to check out our digital work that we do there. On today's show, as cold as it is, we got Jody Hamilton and Shawn Smith Peirce from the Politics Bar that airs in the evening here on WCPT. They'll be with us at 6:30, so we'll keep it moving along. Our good friend Karen Byrne will be calling in today at around 6:45. It's too damn cold for her to come out, and it's like we had back and forth, like, no, you stay home. You stay warm. Henry even said, nah, Nah. And to that end, well, let me finish this up. And then Kevin Schultz, Professor Kevin Schultz will be with us. Why Everybody Hates White Liberals, including white liberals, author of that. And Mike Nellis to wrap up this Friday. So as cold as it is, I'm sure it's going to get a little spicy in here with these 4 or 5 people. So there you go. That's what's happening today on the show. And to that end about the weather, y'all. If you're in the Chicago area or upper Midwest, please be smart and be prudent. Like Henry said this a moment ago. He said, if you don't have to go anywhere or be anywhere today, then just stay home and stay safe. If you do, then please put on that extra layer. Give yourself some extra time with the car. You know, I gave myself a few extra minutes this morning, and make sure that, you know, wherever you go, like this is that day that you take your lunch to work. There ain't no sense in going out at 12 o'clock to go get a sandwich. I mean, you know, if you get a cafeteria in your building, use the cafeteria in the building. But don't be running out. If you haven't left yet and you can throw together a sandwich or you can grab a can of soup or whatever, take that to work and not run out at noon just to go get a sandwich, because you don't need to go out. It's going to get colder as the morning goes, which is crazy. The sun's going to come out. It's going to get colder. But, you know, there you go. I just want everybody that can hear this anywhere in Chicagoland area, upper Midwest, just be safe today. And if you're out east or in certain parts of it's just weird. This is where, oh gosh, this is where my brain just goes, how could somebody say that we're not experiencing climate change when the weather that's taking place in the central and southern? Okay, all right, I'll just take us to our first clip and then we'll hit a break. All right, check this out, progressives.
Why is this backlash so strong? Why is this so determined? We have to understand it is because of the power of the change that it seeks to suppress. It is because of the power that we represent. Because real progress has been and is still being made. And that has generated a reaction of fear, a reaction of anger, a reaction of violence. But understand, we are the forward-moving force in this country, not those forces. Why are we seeing voter registration and gerrymandering efforts so intensely? Why? Because our votes are so strong. Because when we vote, we have made real change. We have made real progress.
That was the Honorable and former U.S. Attorney General, a real Attorney General, not a Pam Bondi, Loretta Lynch, speaking at the Abyssinian Baptist Church. And, you know, last night I had the opportunity to, as you guys may know, I was moderating the Indivisible Speakers Town Hall in Elk Grove Village, which was really great and an honor to be there. And shout out to Julie Mortensen for all the great work that she does. And then they invited me to be a part of their event. I'm honored to have done that, and it was really a lot of fun. And to those who showed up last night, which the room was full, thanks to you guys. Kevin Morrison, who's running, Yasmin Bankoling, Sanjot Dunnig, Junaid Ahmed, and Dan Tully are all running. Things that we talked about range from affordability to dealing with ICE to voting. And to Madam Lynch's point, yeah, if our votes didn't mean so much and matter, it's not about let's not have people in fair elections. They don't want that because they know who is they? This candidly, they are the GOP across the board. Let's take the gloves off on this, guys. It's the GOP in state elections and in federal elections. They don't want people that look like me or that look like Henry with his belief system and his rudder to be part of the process. So, you know, when I talk about this concern around voting, which is where we are right now, what we have to do this year is what I talked about last night at the town hall. We have to get everybody, people have to be mobilized and involved and fight. We don't have the luxury any longer. I've said this so many times. We don't have the luxury. We never really have, but we leaned into it. Some people did, That's not there anymore. People have to fight. People have to dig in and be ready to get themselves out in this process. And out in this process doesn't mean being like today's not a good day to be out protesting necessarily. But it's a day that you could spend if you're not going to work and you have the time. It's a day you could spend reaching out to your elected officials, finding out what you can do to help. What did Mrs. Obama say? Do something, and don't sit and whine and complain, but do something. So the vote piece that we talked about last night is, we've got an unfair, really unmanaged voting system. And as we go forward with this upcoming election, I heard something, and it may have been part of what we talked about yesterday, just trying to remember to be accurate. I am less concerned about, I'm concerned about all of it, from voter suppression and all of those pieces that Greg Palast talks about and that I've talked about. But I'm also really concerned about the suppression that comes from people being afraid to turn out because of the fact that the monies that are going to go to ICE, the additional monies now that are going to go to ICE, they'll use it as a tool to be poll watchers. And the excuse will be, we want to make sure that there's no one there at the polls who's illegal. That's what's going to happen. Today is January 23rd, 2026, Henry, and I'm guaranteeing you guys that sometime in the late summer, early fall, that's what you're going to see happen. They're going to say, we're going to start to send. We've got information. People are saying that there's illegals that are running the polls. We're going to be at the polling places in certain areas because we've got information that says that we've got reports. People are saying, watch that. You don't think I'm crazy? That's going to happen. So we have to come out in large numbers. Be damned what the White House and his minion are going to try to say. We got to take a quick break. The number is 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Check up on health with Chris Whitting.
Alcohol is a leading preventable cause of cancer, but public awareness of the connection remains strikingly low in the U.S., with just 40% of American adults recognizing alcohol as a cancer risk. Here's Sanjay Shute, Ph.D., from the University of Texas MD Anderson Cancer Center.
There are 7 types of cancers that are linked with alcohol use, and they are breast cancer among men, colorectal cancer, liver cancer, and cancers in the mouth, voice box, throat, and the esophagus. Alcohol actually can damage DNA, proteins, and cells, so it can damage all of that. Also, it can increase the inflammation, and also alcohol can alter hormonal levels. So these are the few of the mechanistic way alcohol can cause cancer.
With Checkup on Health, I'm Chris Whitting.
You're listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
Welcome back to Choose Views with Richard Chu.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. So listen, I was talking about ICE and what they're going to do, and this popped into my head, and then I got a text it speaks to it, but not in its entirety. Last night at the Indivisible event, one of the candidates talked about when one of the topics was ICE, and we had 10 areas that we covered. And I'll read them to you real quickly. Affordability, rebuilding the social safety net, their first priority if they were to be elected, ICE, elections, and election security, DOJ independence, the Supreme Court, income inequality, artificial intelligence, and community outreach. Okay, so the ICE part, one of the things that came out during last night's meeting is, and you guys all know this, I should say, hopefully you're aware of it, that, 7 Democrats, and this is where people get frustrated with Democrats. This is one of those moments when I will kind of draw a little bit of a line on this one. And I say we can't spend time, beating up on Democrats right now. But I would like to know what was in the minds of the 7 Democrats that voted with the Republicans for this additional, I think it's $30 billion of money going to ICE. I don't get that. And you can't be running in a difficult enough district to do that. And so, it's not about, this is not a blaming Democrats moment. It's still Republicans have the control of the House and the Senate. So I'm not going to go too far down that path, but I'm not going to miss it either. Democrats can't be voting with Republicans on anything that is going to do any kind of harm whatsoever to any part of this country. Period. ICE doesn't need any more money. Block it. Do everything you can, Democrats, to block it. And I'm not going to blame Hakeem Jeffries because he didn't make the vote. He changed path with others in the caucus. But again, it's frustrating when that happens because we spend so much time working to get Democrats to do the right thing, do the smart thing, do the prudent thing for all of us. So I haven't taken the time yet to sit to review each one of those Democrats and their reasons for voting for this additional money. But I'm going to find out. And so there you go. That's a frustration point for me. But at the same time, I can walk and chew gum and know that we still have got to keep moving ourselves forward and making sure that the people who are sent to represent us. And this is one of the things that I was reminded of just in listening last night, that the people that go to Washington, that we send to Washington, or that we send to Springfield, or we're sent to any state capital in the country, that they go there and they represent the people that elected them. So I dare say that the people who are in the districts of those 7 Democrats are happy about that. So we let. Here's what we do: we stay mindful of it, but we let those people in those districts deal with those folks who voted in this way. I think that's kind of how we have to deal with it. So I'll have more information on that early next week. So give me some time to kind of pull that together. That being said, let me throw some shade, a little bit of shade at how I think something is handled or not handled, as it were. With ICE, let me back up. Because this is again something that came to mind last night at the town hall. With immigration, a conversation around who's here legally or not, and when we talk about birthright citizenship. I would love to see, a journalist, a person sitting in those press meetings, say something like this, or in some of the hearings, say something like this to, a couple of people that are just railing on about illegals and violent criminals and all this other garbage that comes from the press secretary, from Kristi Noem, and from Pam Bondi. So for these 3 people, and there are others. There's men and women both on the right in the administration and in the House of Representatives that need this sort of treatment put toward them. What's that? The next time Caroline Leavitt starts ranting on about the illegals and the dangerous criminals and this, that, and the other, I want somebody that's sitting there in that press meeting, because if I were there, I would raise my hand and ask, so can you prove that you're legally here? Why not? Can you prove that you're legally here? And watch her do her normal mean girl stuff. But I can take it. So I would ask her, can you you talk about illegals and how people, can you prove that you're born here in the United States? And whether she was or wasn't isn't the point. It's to watch her, vomit on herself. Next time Kristi Noem is ranting on about, illegals and dangerous criminals and all that. So, Kristi, can you prove that you're here? What's your birth certificate say? How do we know? How do we know you didn't slip across the Canadian border? We don't know. We just know that you're here. Pam Bondi starts going on about, the justice system and the Department of Justice and da-da-da-da-da. Pam, because see, this is how I think sometimes we have to fight. Pam Bondi, what's the nature, what's the, people might say, well, that's being biased. Okay, well, last time I checked, the bias is coming from them. Let's ask Pam Bondi. Let's check out your family genealogy. How do we know that you're here legally? that birthright citizenship isn't part of your lineage? I mean, it's a fair question. They're trying to beat down so many people in the United States that are here trying to get through their asylum kerfuffle. Why not ask that question? Ask Marco. Marco, are you sure? Help us understand. I mean, you're Secretary of State, dude. Let us see your papers. We need to start asking those kinds of questions. And I know that when ICE shows up at someone's place of work or their home now, the knocking on doors in neighborhoods, garbage. I know it's tough for an everyday citizen who is about to have their life turned upside down to ask an ICE agent, show me your papers. But I think that when people who have a voice that are, in those press meetings, doing those press conferences and sitting in front of Congress, they need to be asked those questions. Where are your papers? How do we know you're here legally? Because what will happen is their response, their reaction to it will be one that's very haughty, like, how dare you ask me that question? That's what's going to come out of their mouths first. How dare you? Who are you to ask me that question? And I think I believe we should be willing to ask them that question and put them on their heels and fight differently. I heard one of the representatives last night say something that I'm going to try to add as much as I can to my conversation. I learned quite a bit last night, so that's the other blessing of having been able to do this and moderate this. Yeah, we're the progressive liberal democratic party and effort, but we also need to be the opposite. Let me see yours. KKK, let me see your papers. I don't know. We don't know. Prove it. You could have slipped across the border and, flashed one of the guards and they looked the other way and, you got in. Some people might think that's crude, but I'm tired of us fighting on our heels. So let's ask those tough questions. Let's start asking some of the elected officials in the GOP. Let me see your papers. You're talking about illegals and bad behavior and criminal behavior when I'm locked. How about we look at your stuff? Because, see, I'm from Chicago, and we fight, like Mayor Johnson said, we're built a little bit differently here. And I want to, as oftentimes the south side and the west side of Chicago gets denigrated, well, let's bring some of that south side Chicago and that west side Chicago heat to the conversation. Where are your papers at, man? Let me see your papers. I want to know. I want to know how you got here. We start fighting that way. We start punching that way. Maybe we'll get their attention and do it publicly so they know we're here. Bring that sledgehammer of different questions. Start asking, and when we have people that we can talk to, we want to ask them some slightly different questions. That's all I'm saying. All right, we're going to take a quick break because we've got some cool folks that are going to hang out with us for the next hour and a half. 773-763-9278. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
WCPT Replay.
Speaking with Wendell Young, the vice chairman of the Chicago Wolves, and he is the newest inductee in the 2026 AHL Hall of Fame class.
There's one goalie in particular that I think you had a front row seat for history, and that's Manon Rheaume when she became the first female NHL player in that preseason game.
I walk into the rink, and Phil and Tony Esposito, when they're kind of talking, they're like, we got to put Manon in. Everyone's here. The rink is packed. All the media's here. But what happens if she plays bad? And I go, this is your worry? They go, you're going to play the first 2 periods, Wendell. She's going to play the third. And I go, you're going to let her sit around for 3 or 4 hours, worrying, being stretched, warm up, and then tight, and then have to go in and waiting for that. I go, start her. If things don't go well for her, I go 10 minutes in. I said, I'll go in and just say that was our plan. We're just splitting the periods. And then I go, that's your out. So she goes in and plays unbelievable. I go in, and the rink starts chanting, put the girl back in.
Keep listening to WCPT 820 because facts matter.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
Here's your weatherology forecast. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme cold warning remains in effect, then a cold weather advisory goes into effect Friday afternoon. We'll see a few spotty flurries at times here early today, then skies will become mostly sunny with a high around 0. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Then for tonight, we'll see increasing clouds, a low near -7. Saturday, a chance for some snow here, cloudy skies, a high around 10 above. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, 5 below.
Alexa, play WCPT.
WCPT from TuneIn.
Richard Chu's got his eyes on the truth. And you're right where you need to be. This is Chu's Views.
We are back. 773-763-9278 is the number. This is Chu's Views on WCPT. It's cold as hell outside right now in Chicago. But I've got two people that are going to hang out with me. One where it's a little cold and one where it's not too cold. Who am I talking about? I am talking about my good friend and just wonderful, wonderful human being, Jody Hamilton from the Politics Bar, and her road dog, Shawn Smith Peirce. Good morning, y'all. How you doing? How you doing?
Good morning, Richard.
Hey.
Good morning, sir. It is not as cold as where you are here by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I know, and that's I'm going to draft. Literally, I'm going to draft some of the heat from Southern California to kind of warm up.
It's not that bad here in D.C. It's only about 30 right now, but I think it's what is it like? You guys are looking at wind chills in Chicago of negative 40 something. I think the
man, when I got in the car,
50.
it's negative 21 an hour ago. That's what I'll tell you.
Okay,
So
it's 53 degrees here right now, and it's 4:30 in the morning. So,
well, that's the other thing I got to get with is Jody is up. So this is so cool. We got West Coast, center of the country, and East Coast. Mid-Atlantic. So that is the beauty of technology. And first and foremost,
we love that.
Shawn, I'm happy you're here because always happy you're here. But we both have to give Jody some big love because it's 4:30 in Southern California. So Jody, thank you for getting up. I know you get up early already. I know that because you and I have had conversations about that. But thank you guys for hanging out with me this morning. I know our listeners love the Politics Bar. It is a great show. You guys have been doing such phenomenal work with that and having great guests on. Our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast, also known as Karen from Chicago, is on with you guys later today. And she's gonna land her little puddle jumper here a little bit this morning as well because she hangs out with me on Fridays either by phone or in the studio. But we were talking last night, and it's too damn cold to come out and see this morning.
I don't blame her.
So
it's insane. It's insanely cold. Although I keep thinking to myself, with the ice monsters doing the crap they're doing, kidnapping 5-year-olds like they are up in the cities, I keep thinking, how is it that protesters could potentially use sprinklers? And I'm just saying, if the ice monsters got a little bit wet.
You know what would be kind of cool?
What a shame.
Is if if people are blowing the whistles in the neighborhood, but it's too damn cold to even do this. But if people are blowing whistles in the neighborhood, for that would also be the signal to get out with buckets of water and pour them on the sidewalks in front of
they've already been doing that. They've already been doing that in some areas.
In some areas, yeah, but make it a massive thing. But then Christie would get all upset that ICE that people in Minneapolis are preventing ICE from doing their jobs and they're making life difficult for ICE and.
My favorite thing that they did in Minneapolis, and I hope they're going to continue, is setting off car alarms.
Oh yeah,
yes.
That's
brilliant.
That's brilliant. Now people are in that if they have a remote device, when they see ICE, and there was one where they had gotten real creative, where people were like trying to play a tune or just have some alternating beats with the frequency of their a car alarm sound. So
love that.
Every city has added an iteration. Every city has added something, whether, obviously starting in LA and then goes to DC and then goes to Chicago and picks up some stuff along the way from New Orleans and Portland, and obviously Minneapolis has added their own thing. There's a great piece, I think we had in yesterday's News on Tap from Anna Marie Cox. who I've known literally since high school.
Wow.
Talking about, and she's there in the cities, and she's saying literally, it is the most organized. It's like, okay, I've mentioned this before at the bar. Jody knows this. Snow brigades. I think I mentioned it last night. You know this, Richard. Everybody in Chicago knows this. It's a snow brigade. So big snow comes in. A lot of people have these things where you got your shovels and you got your snow blowers and whatever. And if you're not in Chi-Town, you don't understand this. So y'all make agreements with different neighborhoods, and a big snow comes, and then you and like 5 of your friends, put a couple of snow blowers in and your shovels, and you go to a neighborhood and you help clean the neighborhood out.
Yep.
And people are like, how the hell do people live in Chicago and Minneapolis and Denver and all them places in the middle of winter? That's how. Because the minute it snows, we all get together, we all work together, and we all clear the damn place out. That's just
the nice parallel with that is that's what we have to do right now as a country. We have to.
That's what people are doing where all the ice monsters are. They are connecting and communicating, and that's the biggest thing. Is community is what is helping all of us and saving a lot of people. It's about community.
It really is. Speaking of community, one of the things that I want to do, a lot of folks know all over the country about the Politics Bar, but the thing that I have to give you guys an opportunity to share, even though you guys air here on CPT, which it's such a lovely partnership to have. Just take a moment and maybe Jody, just let folks know who, because it's kind of the flip. Some people go to bed early and they don't hear things that are broadcast after 6 o'clock. Some people don't get up real early, so they don't. So like last night at the town hall, I had a couple people come up to me and say, Richard, I know about the station, I know about your show, but it's just so early in the morning for me to get up. I don't listen to it live. I'll listen to the rebroadcast and stream it. And I said, hey, totally get it. Just share it with everybody.
Absolutely.
So, but tell folks about the Politics Bar. Jody, you can take the baton on that.
You go first.
Well, it started when Randy, who is doing much better,
Randy Rhodes
decided to retire. And Shawn was looking for a host, and I was like the 10th choice. And
you were not the 10th choice.
And I finished working with Stephanie Miller for health reasons. And so I still get up early, but not as early as I used to by any stretch of the imagination. And we record the show later in the day, so we have a little bit more time to get things. And I am able to exercise now, which is nice. But no, Shawn called and I was like, yeah, let's do it. And we were up. It was April 23rd when Randy retired last year, and we were up and running on May 19th.
Yeah. It was less than a month. I was shocked that you said yes. I was, because I was.
Why were you shocked? Why were you shocked?
Look, first of all, starting a left-leaning radio show in this day and age, when we know, you even got Brendan Carr, who's like, no, everybody has to have equal, except we all know he ain't gonna be equal time. He just wants to shove right wing in everybody's ears.
Yep.
But that's, but I was like, you know what? One of the things that actually spurred me to have the idea, other than the fact of needing a job, was the fact that Randy had built such a community over so many years.
Mm-hmm.
And that community stretches and overlaps in so many ways with the Stephanie Miller show and with the Tom Hartman show, and obviously with all the good folks at WCPT and other stations around the country. And I wanted to give people who are in that community another place to go. And it just made sense to me to be like, what'd you used to do at the end of the day?
Yeah.
You used to go to the corner bar. It don't matter where you live, whether you're in the cities or whether you're out in the countryside. Everybody had a local bar they used to go to, and you could be left, right, or center. You could talk crap about somebody, and as long as you didn't throw chairs and cause a ruckus, you'd be fine. Everybody's fine, and you come back the next day. And I'm like, well, we could do that. So I presented the idea to Jody. And I still remember, I presented that, and I'm thinking she's going to say, I don't know about this. And I hear silence for a couple of things, and she goes, yeah, we could do that.
Wow. Well, Jody, this is the thing about that Jody that many people don't hear, at least in my opinion. Jody is a very, very welcoming person. And she takes the time to kind of think about how something's going to work and make sense. And I've come to learn that in the time that I've known Jody, and I think that that's one of her superpowers. So it's not surprising, Shawn, that you had that interaction. But everybody's benefiting from that, and I think that with Randy's departure, if you will, but now, but one of the things that I heard last night, and it has to be talked about a little bit here, and I know I'll be talking about it a lot in the days and weeks to come. One of the candidates that was part of the town hall, she said, "Listen, we're going to be Democrats. We are Democrats, and we have to carry that mantle and stand on that business." But she said we have to be the opposition party now. Mm-hmm. And I haven't heard anybody say that. Not one. I mean, it doesn't mean it hasn't been said. I just haven't heard anybody say it. That's an elected official anywhere in the country. We have to be the opposition party. Yeah. And I don't want to lean back to what's the dude with the chubby cheeks that that was one of the, he was a speaker back in the late 80s.
Tip O'Neill?
No, Republican. You know who I'm talking about. It'll come to me. I know somebody will text me in a second. But to that end,
you're talking Gingrich in the 90s?
Yes.
Gingrich.
Mr. Gingrich, the cause of so much of this angst.
So much problems.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, sometimes I describe people by their actions, and I was about to say how disrespectful he was to his wife, but that's still.
That would definitely have. Yeah, if anybody didn't know, that would have done it. He was disrespectful to his wife and also to his other wife.
Yeah, and his
to
other
the
wife.
Country.
And to the country. But what she said last night, we have to be the opposition party now. We have to oppose. And so I think that our presentation of information and conversations has to kind of have a little bit of that in every measure. We've got to be willing to say no first. Oftentimes, no, you're wrong, rather than just. And I know it's hard sometimes to we want to listen, we want to take on information, we want to try to embrace what people are saying, but I think sometimes we or at least think going forward, we have to be willing to say no, that's wrong, that's crazy, this is flat out crazy. And I think that the elected officials should try that as well and be willing to ask some different questions, like I was saying earlier. Like, where are your papers, Caroline? Where are your papers, Christine Noem? Where are your papers?
Amen.
And that kind of stuff, just to kind of put them back on their heels. I don't know. What do you guys think about the opposition conversation?
I think that's a great idea. I think we should. It's starting. It's not strong enough yet, but it is starting. With Democrats in the House.
Some.
And most. We're going to go with most.
Yeah.
The 7 that voted incorrectly.
Yes.
Yeah. On the DHSI thing. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's 7 out of what?
214.
Couple hundred. So,
I know. I get it. And I Jody,
I also think. Let me add to that. I don't necessarily think. I think we need to be both an opposition party and a proposition party.
Yeah,
yes.
What we're voting for. Listen,
we got to give them something to. We can't just say no, your idea sucks, because that's what Republicans have been doing, and then we turn to them and we say, well, okay, fine, what's your idea? And they ain't got one. Healthcare is a perfect example. They don't have one. They haven't had one for 25, 30 years. They still don't have one.
No.
So we need to be the opposition party, but we also need to be the proposition party.
Here's what we vote against.
Not only do your ideas suck, but here's our idea
and why it's better. Yeah,
Right.
that's I've used a phrase before or the statement before, kind of the laundry list. Here's what they've done to you. No, that what they've done is stupid, it's harmful, and here's the evidence. Here's what we're going to do for you, and here's why it's going to how it's going to benefit you. And so when we put again, it goes back to the walking and chewing gum at the same time. That's how we really have to be right now. And I also said this earlier in the week. I said it at the beginning of the year. It's kind of my first show of the year. This is not the year. This is why I appreciate how Jody positioned it. Just a few voted the wrong way. The rest got it right.
We
can't be. This is not the year to be vomiting on Democrats.
Exactly.
Amen.
This is not the time to be vomiting on Democrats. I know there's people out there that are saying, yeah, but you know what? How about but the Republicans? How about but the GOP?
Mm-hmm.
We cannot win the midterms if we're going to vomit on each other and let people get away with it, taking a crap on Democrats.
Well, also, we can't let the rest of the mainstream media. We got to get out there and critique them, because if one Democrat does something bad, the media says all Democrats did it. But if Donald Trump himself does something horrible, they're like, oh, but that's just one Republican.
Right.
Like, no.
It's all of you.
If you're gonna do it that way, then it's all Republicans, or it's
just the one Democrat.
And, right, exactly. You know.
Yeah,
you gotta be fair, y'all.
Got to be fair, and we have to. Again, that's why we have to be willing to really take on walking and chewing gum at the same time. Which is,
Amen.
You all are stinky.
Amen.
And we smell good, and here's why you should hang out with us.
We have all the right deodorant and
We
all
do.
the right antiperspirants.
We got cool shirts like the one that you got there, right there. I love that.
What is this?
Jody shirt, brother.
Says, don't look at me. I didn't vote for him.
Oh yeah, that's right. Don't look at me anymore. I like
Mine
that.
just says best dog dad because my dog is sitting here.
Jody, you got to get me one of those. I got to get that into a ball cap because people that know me know I love my ball cap. So we got to figure out how to blow that line, that new T-shirt line and ball
You can get a
cap.
Politics Bar ball cap if you want at the Politics Bar store.
I know that, but I know that part. But Shawn, I'm not worried about that. I want the T-shirt stuff that Jody's sporting right now.
I didn't vote for him. Yeah,
that's what I want.
I'm with that.
That's a banner that we should have. How much more time you guys have? Because I do want to bring somebody on that's going to hang out with us for a few minutes. You guys got a few more minutes?
Yeah.
We do?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's bring on our good friend, Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast.
Hello, good morning, sleepyheads.
Whoa, wow, you sound even. Whoa, did you just wake up or do you have are you Snotty Pippin this morning?
I could tell you guys the night that I had, it was, mid 3 o'clock in the morning, the bed gave way.
Oh,
and
no.
it wasn't for any good reason.
Well, I was gonna be like, do we need to salute you guys or something? Clap, maybe?
No. And it was, I couldn't believe it. I was like, what the? And Rich is like, what was that? And I'm like, the bed just collapsed. I'm like, that's it. Diets all around. We're going on diets 2 days.
Listen. Everybody that heard that is blushing. Everybody in the country that heard that is blushing. Don't lie, y'all. You know you're blushing when Karen said the bed gave way and then the pregnant pause. But not for the reason that you think it did.
Yeah, not for any good reason.
That's what I was going to say.
That's
like
gosh.
when somebody breaks their leg or
Your pipes
injures their leg or something.
So
and when they do that, I tell people, I'm like, if somebody injures their leg and they're like, what do you tell? I say, you got to tell people you have a good story. So somebody hurts your leg, they're walking around on crutches and somebody says, they always inevitably, what happened? And you say, well, some people was talking some stuff, and I said if they didn't stop, I'd plant my foot in the ass, and well,
there you go.
What do you have? Yep. So bed's the same thing.
Yes.
Yeah, I was waiting. Yeah, the pipes bursting is not a sexy story, but
Yeah.
depending on how one reads that, of course. Oh gosh. Well, we are slipping off into the abyss right now.
I know. Well, I'm so enjoying your conversation, and I just wanted to say, Jody, that is something that we have to remember. The majority of Democrats voted against funding ICE. And I guess part of the $20 million was for ICE body cameras, so that might factor into the 7. But if people are wanting to give them calls and expressing their dissatisfaction with that vote, there's Don Davis of North Carolina, Tom Swayze of New York, Henry Cuellar of Texas, Vicente Gonzalez of Texas, Laura Gillen of New York, Marie Glusenkamp Perez of Washington, Jared Golden of Maine. And so they voted with the Republicans. And, and Shawn, you were saying, we have to be, also the party of proposition.
Right.
Here's my concern with it. We have their attention, the people that don't pay attention. We have all of their attention. The people that say both sides do it, and obviously the majority did not do it, but that just don't do politics, and for the reason that they have bought the narrative that Democrats are just the same as Republicans. And I have actually had some really good conversations and have been able to send them information, talk to them, and point out all the ways that is not the case. So,
yeah.
Well, like I always say, just because you don't do politics doesn't mean politics doesn't do you.
Yep.
Exactly.
That's right.
And in fact, it does you even harder if you don't do it.
Exactly.
I have some folks that have close to me that will say that have said to me too, I just don't want to talk politics. And I've honestly been befuddled and thrown off by it because I'm like, well, why not? And what it comes back to is what Karen, and part of what Karen just said, because they're all the same, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, that would be like saying every person that does a particular job or is in a particular profession that you don't like, they're all the same. It's like saying all doctors all attorneys are all the same, or all contractors are all the same, and so I'm in that same boat with you guys. Is like, this is the time when we draw the line and say, no, again, they're stinky, and here's why. And we smell good, and here's why. And really let them know we are different. We are not the same. We may have to we have to analyze some of the same stuff. And there are going to be people, and that's why I said earlier I didn't know what the list was. So Karen, thank you for that. And what their reasoning was. It's also important to get to their reasoning. Why
Absolutely.
did you? Those are the questions that have to be asked now, not just to pit them against, but why did you vote for this? Go ahead, Karen. Sorry.
And I think I think it's fair to ask the question. I mean, how much money did Kristi Noem spend on her campaigns that ran only in the areas where Donald Trump would be tuning in?
Right.
How many millions of dollars of that budget that they've already received, of the monies that they've already received? You can have that conversation too. Why are you asking for more money when you misappropriated the money that you had?
Where is that money that you got already? We need you. The Republicans try to ask that question about Democrats. We want to ask the same question. Where's the money? And I think if we change our questions that we ask the people that come to some of these hearings and put them on their heels, just rapid fire, that's going to be a way for us to crack through, no pun intended, but crack through the ice, not just on ICE and immigration, but on other areas, even the Epstein files. I think the questions should be maybe phrased a little bit differently. So if you're saying you don't know anything about it, then why is it, and then fill in the blanks. So just sort of change our questions and how we handle those things. Guys, I want to.
We also shouldn't be afraid to focus on things like the Constitution itself. I mean, you've got these what is it? There's a story today, this morning, I believe it was in the New York Times, about how they knew DHS cites foreign students' writings and protests before the arrest. So they violated the First Amendment there. We know that they have tried to force hotels to actually accept ICE monsters. Jody,
Third Amendment.
Exactly.
Yep.
And this Fourth Amendment, we know the Fourth Amendment violation that ICE has this memo that says, you can just kick people's door down. And we're like, no, that's a fourth. We shouldn't be, look, I mean, the Constitution, if we want it to be alive, we shouldn't just put it in a box and put it on a wall and put lights on it. We need to take that sucker out and use it and be like, you guys are violating this stuff. This is the stuff that our entire country, that our politics from top to bottom is based on. You're going to stick to it or not.
Yeah.
And if they're not, fine, then that means we don't have to stick to it either. And they don't want that.
They don't want that.
No. And I love the way, and real quick, I know you want to pivot, Richard, but, the First Amendment, if you watch the Jack Smith hearings yesterday, and they kept citing the First Amendment rights of the members of Congress and Donald Trump.
Right.
But it doesn't apply to any of us. It doesn't,
Yeah. Well, you Karen, you were reading my mind in part. I just wanted to take a little bit as we get to the top of the hour to talk about that hearing. And the part of it that really stood out for me is when Jim Jordan tried to go after the woman who testified. And I'm drawing a blank on her name.
Cassidy Hutchinson.
Yeah, Cassidy Hutchinson.
And how he tried to box in Jack Smith. First of all, Jack Smith is a gangster. He played them. He's so good. He knows his stuff so well. And when he said, "I am not changing my position. I am not afraid." I was driving, so I couldn't stand up in the car, but I wanted to stand up and applaud him for that. But check this out, y'all. Here's what I thought was really interesting. Jim Jordan starts railing on about, Cassidy Hutchinson being, quote, a liar because of what the one guy said that didn't happen with Trump trying to grab the steering wheel. and how many times that the left had her name in the testimony. I wanted somebody to come back and say, so Jim, last time I checked, your name was in the document 87 times. So does that make you equally a liar or not as verifiable? Didn't happen, but it was one of those moments. So he really showed up and he showed out, as the phrase goes.
He did.
Yeah.
It was brilliant.
We were talking about that last night at the politics bar about how they keep harping on the phone thing. I know that's a big thing for you, Jody. How they keep.
It's just like the dumbest thing to harp on.
It is. Yeah. It is. And they're like, well, how come it's all Republicans? Well, because Donald Trump
it was only Republicans involved.
Right. He was only calling Republicans to try to cheat the election. Because he knew if he called Democrats, even if they picked up, would be like, no, click. So, I mean.
So listen, y'all, we're at the top of the hour, and I'm going to put this out here. We have to do this with some regularity, the four of us.
Yes.
So, and Jody, Shawn, since Jody was the first to respond, then we're going to follow her lead. She said yes before anybody else did, so we're going to follow right down that Jody Hamilton path. I would love us to do this.
I second that.
Okay, cool. So the guys, we did the right thing. We let the ladies speak first, and we did our part and kept our mouths shut. Yep. So let's make sure we do this again because I have so much love and respect for you guys, your opinions and your observations and the hard work that you all put in.
Thank you.
So let's figure out a way. I'll figure out with the folks here how to do this.
We definitely could do this again. We love the folks from WCPT. And look, I know people can listen to your show later. I know they can listen to our show later, as we call them, future people. If you listen in other ways, but whenever you listen, you're part of the community, and that's what matters.
That's right. Jody, thanks for hanging out. Shawn, thanks for hanging out.
You.
Karen, thanks.
Thank you.
Go fix that bed.
Thank you.
See you later, Karen.
Yeah, go fix that bed. We'll talk
Love
about
you
it
guys.
tonight.
See you later.
All right, guys.
Right, we are going to talk.
Take care, guys. Thanks for hanging out.
Bye-bye.
You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM. From Warren County, North Carolina, I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back. WCPT 820 will be hosting a candidate forum for the three leading candidates for Illinois' open United States Senate seat in the Democratic primary on February 6th.
Please join us at the Plumbers Hall at 1340 West Washington in Chicago, or listen to the live broadcast.
Representative Raja Krishnamurthy, Representative Robin Kelly, and Illinois Lieutenant Governor Juliana Stratton will be discussing their stances on the issues and making their case for your vote.
WCPT hosts Patty Vasquez, Richard Chu, and of course Jonas Esposito will be moderating the forum.
To attend in person, go to heartlandsignal.com/WCPT820 and register. We'll have limited seats available, so please register early.
Meet the leading Senate Democratic candidates at a free WCPT Live Candidate Forum at Plumbers Union Hall, Local 130 on Washington Street in Chicago, Friday, February 6th.
The forum starts at 1 p.m. and is sponsored by Plumbers Union Local 130.
File with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. They help you get your biggest refund, and then we help you do more with it. Start filing today in the Credit Karma app.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. President Trump says the USS Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier strike group is moving closer to Iran. He says this is just in case he wants to take action. He made the remarks on Air Force One yesterday while on his return to Washington from the World Economic Forum in Davos, Switzerland. He also added,
"But we're watching them very closely. I stopped 837 hangings on Thursday."
But Iran's top prosecutor today said Trump's claim that he had stopped the hangings of detained protesters were completely false. Activists say the overall death toll from the bloody crackdown on nationwide demonstrations has risen to more than 5,000. In other news, AP correspondent Donna Warder reports on a big snowstorm expected for much of the U.S. this weekend.
Earlier this week, more than 100 vehicles smashed into each other or slid off the interstate south of Grand Rapids, Michigan.
I seen it way ahead, and I had to go out. I went off the edge. This guy got hit. You got about 100 cars.
Motorist Pedro Mata Jr. was caught up in the wreck, which closed a section of Interstate 196. Now severe weather is about to hit much of the United States. National Weather Service meteorologist Frank Pereira says heavy snow is expected to cover the southern Rockies and Plains through the mid-Atlantic and into the Northeast.
We're looking at widespread snowfall totals of 6 inches to upwards of a foot or more in some places.
And for parts of the southern U.S., ice.
We're looking at ice accumulations that will likely exceed a quarter inch in many areas, up to perhaps even 1 inch.
Forecasters say the damage from this storm, especially areas pounded by ice, could rival a hurricane.
This is AP News. Hudson Williams and Connor Story, the actors co-starring in the hit hockey romance TV series Heated Rivalry, are set to be among the torchbearers carrying the Olympic flame on the way to the opening ceremony for the Milan Cortina Games. A fired college football coach is seeking to have the charges against him dismissed.
A lawyer for fired University of Michigan football coach Shawn Moore is seeking to have home invasion and other charges dismissed. Authorities say Moore went inside a woman's apartment on December 10th, blamed her for losing his job, and threatened to kill himself in front of her. Earlier that day, Moore was fired over his relationship with the woman who worked in the football program. Moore's attorney said Thursday that the arrest warrant for Moore was based on, quote, misleading statements. She filed a motion to quash the warrant. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 8:20 a.m. WCPT Willow Springs and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now your WCPT 820 weather update.
Here's your weatherology forecast. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme cold warning remains in effect, then a cold weather advisory goes into effect Friday afternoon. We'll see a few spotty flurries at times here early today, then skies will become mostly sunny with a high around 0. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Then for tonight, we'll see increasing clouds, a low near -7. Saturday, a chance for some snow here, cloudy skies, a high around 10 above. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, 8 below.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Chicago's progressive talk, WCPT 820, where facts matter.
He's not here to yell. He's here to inform and maybe stir the pot. This is Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
All right, guys, welcome back to the show. I will tell you that was some of the most fun I've had in a while on the show, having Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics podcast with us and hanging out with Jody Hamilton and Shawn Peirce. That was a lot of fun, and we'll do it again. And thanks to you guys who were sending us comments about it. So it makes me crack up sometimes when I sit back and think about the show and our station and the people we get to spend time with. And the last few months, we've had the opportunity to do one of the things that I nerd out on, and that's talk. Am I back on this camera? Okay. Yeah, back on this one. All right. Is to nerd out with authors and professors. And when that happens, I've made it clear to people that that's kind of where I am. So with us this morning is one of those folks that I've nerded out with before, and he's the author of Why Everyone Hates White Liberals, including white liberals. And the best part of the title of the book is the part in parentheses, including white liberals. Who am I talking about? Professor and chair of the Department of History here at the University of Illinois, Chicago, Kevin Schultz. Good morning, Doc. How are you this morning? Uh-oh. I can see him talking. There you go. How you doing?
You can't hear me?
Now I can hear
you.
Great. Yeah. We're good. We're good.
All right.
Oh man. Well, I won't ask if you're staying warm, but I hope you are staying warm. Good Lord, are you doing classes remotely today, or what's the deal with how you're going to handle classes today at school?
I have to be very careful because my university said that the university is running as normal.
Okay.
But as the chair of the department, I can say to my faculty that we have a policy that for a variety of reasons, if any of my teachers feel more comfortable staying at home on any given day, they have to inform me, but they can, for the safety of themselves or their students, work remotely. So I have been saying yes a lot. Let's put it that way. I've been saying yes a lot to my faculty. You know, we at UIC, we've got a hospital. We run all sorts of operations. So we can never technically close because that would be immoral. So we have to walk this fine line of making sure we're taking care of our students and taking care of our people and also providing the good education that we do at UIC, creating the next middle class.
Yeah, I think the best thing is always have some flexibility and malleability in the decision making, because things can happen. I mean, yeah, you've got the uniqueness of being a hospital facility and an educational facility, and so you've got to manage that. And I know that in your role as a chair, you got that added responsibility. So. But thanks for being with us again. I'm glad you're safe and hoping that family and everybody's doing all right. And I was just saying to Henry, you know, this is what we deal with here in Chicago and the upper Midwest. And so, you know, along we go. But New Year, Happy New Year to you. We haven't talked since December, but we're back on track to be able to have our regular conversations with you. And, you know, we've all been in one way or another poking some justifiable fun at ICE. But, you know, we started the year off, Professor, with the thing that I said that just it's broken all of our hearts, is that we invaded a country and kidnapped their president. And then within the same week, we had a woman who had an American citizen get gunned down on the streets of America. And none of this garbage has to happen. But I know that you've got some observations about ICE. And as we look at your rule of 60, how this kind of, you've got some observations about that. Let's dive right in and talk about that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, to get to your first point, it definitely feels like we're playing whack-a-mole with issue after issue after issue. And it's hard for me as a professional historian who has to do this stuff to sort of figure out, okay, what's important? What do we need to focus on? What's sort of just the noise out there that's getting us to distract from the real issues, from the things that are affecting real people? And, you know, one of the things that we've been noticing in the last few weeks is that, well, democracy is a muscle, right? And right now we're seeing the muscle have to be flexed a little bit. And, you know, it might be a little tired for a lot of Americans. But just today we're talking about in Minneapolis, maybe there's going to be a general strike in opposition to what they're seeing in ICE up in Minneapolis, which brings me back to the days of the Great Depression, when there were general strikes and food marches and things like that, when the federal government was doing things that the American population was not eager for, and the American population had to flex its democratic muscle. But you know who's really pissed off right now, Richard?
Who?
I've been going around promoting my book, Why Everyone Hates White Liberals, Including White Liberals. And the way these book promotions go is you go give a talk, and then somebody in the audience says, hey, would you come talk to this group? Would you come talk to that group? And then you go give that talk, and another person in the audience says this. So for whatever reason, I've been on the retirement community circuit.
Okay.
I've been going to retirement home to senior center. Old people are pissed off right now, Richard. I go to these.
So Doc, give us a little bit of bandwidth. No, I didn't mean to interrupt you because I want to tie this down because my brain goes here. If kind of give us an age band if you can, or even if you know what that might be, and then take that back to old people are pissed off right now.
I would say the people that I've been in front of, 3 times in the last month, just the way these circuits have gone for me, are probably 65 to 90.
Okay.
That would be my guess.
Okay.
Some people are taking the affirmative motion and getting to retirement communities early.
Right.
And then some people have been there for a while, and these are the people that are the leaders of their organization and their book clubs and their history clubs, and they're living life. They're doing a great job, and they're real joy to work with. And I don't know, I'm not yet at that age, so I'm not sure what that looks like.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, there's so much energy and so much excitement about the possibility and disappointment in what they're seeing. They're pissed off, and usually a
lot of these folks, again, they probably, and that's why I was asking the age. If we take the center of that and say it's 75, these are folks that went through some stuff. Some of them probably fought in different, in 1 or 2 wars, potentially Korea, and potentially, most certainly Vietnam. And, regardless of why we were there in those wars, they're ticked off that we're fighting against each other and to see military action on the streets of America, I can see why a lot of those folks would be like ready to re-enlist if they served.
Yeah, and the real thing that I hear over and over again is that we're living in an era where our ideals, American ideals, are being betrayed in live time in the whack-a-mole way that we just talked about. And these people are Vietnam War veterans, many of them that I'm talking to, and they'll say it loud and proud. They might not be proud of the war that they fought in, but they're proud that they fought for American ideals, and they really do believe in those ideals. And a lot of people, a lot of the women that I talked to were organizers, they were teachers, they were less often active in the military going back to the Vietnam War era, but nonetheless, they see this life that is being put out there on display now, and this political activity, and it's really contrary to the ideals that they really hold near and dear to their identity as Americans, as proud Americans who served this country. And even now they're collecting their Social Security. It used to be we thought that older people were worried about the denials of Social Security and getting rid of Medicare and Medicaid and stuff like that. That's not what I'm hearing when I go out to these senior centers. It's all about the American ideals. It's about the things you talked about, whack-a-mole, contrary to American ideals, to go and hijack and kidnap another country's leader, even if the guy's a terrible guy. You just don't break the rule of international law by going to do that kind of stuff. It's I talked about democracy being a muscle. It's really interesting to see these people of these senior communities pissed off, and they're going to the marches, and they're standing on street corners with signs saying "Get ICE out of my community." Yeah, it was really a surprise to me. I don't know if I shouldn't have been surprised. Maybe that's saying more about me than them.
No,
but it also was really heartening.
Well, and I think the surprise, and I'm not putting words in your mouth or trying to psychoanalyze you, but I think the surprise is you take pause and you go, damn, it means something to them. They're not just old folks. You kind of transport into what they went through and saw. And I'll give you a good example of that. My brother-in-law and sister are 78 and 75 years old, respectively. Both served in the military, Marine Corps and Navy. And the thing that's just like it was a stake that was driven into to remind me, when Roe v. Wade was reversed, my sister Linda, and she will proudly speak to this, said to me, Richard, I did not think, after all the fighting that I put in when I was a young woman, and again, look at her age, and when Roe was enacted, she said, I did not think I would have to do this again. And so if we take that conversation, that statement from my sister, my older sister Linda, and layer it over so many things, Doc, I think that's kind of what's motivating or is problematic for the people that you just described that you've been talking to. They really didn't think they'd have to go down this path again. In so many of these ways, they didn't think they'd see our country be where it is right now, where we've got troops on the streets of the cities of wherever. And I'll cite you this. Last night, I was a moderator for a town hall out at Elk Grove Village for some folks that are running for Congress, an indivisible group that sponsored it. And when I looked into the audience, I'll be honest with you, I would say that the average age of the person in the audience was probably 65 to 68 and above. There were some folks there that are probably, closer to your age, but it was a lot of people who were, the irony is older white liberals. So,
and this spells trouble in some ways for the current president, because old people vote. I study charts and graphs and historic data, and one of the things that we know is that elderly people, above the age of 65 vote at higher percentages than categories and ages below them, with young people 18 to 25 voting in the least highest numbers. So if the old people are out there pissed off in increasingly demonstrative ways, that spells electoral problems for the Republican Party as long as they tie their horse to the current president.
I agree. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we are talking with Professor Kevin Schultz, professor and chair of the Department of History. This is a guy that he likes to rewind that clock and go back in the Wayback Machine and say, okay, look, y'all, we have some perspective here. If we take the time and look back just a little bit, we might learn something, or at least we might be exposed to something that opens up our mind a little bit. So let's talk about that as it relates to your travels of late. What then are some of the conversations that you might be having with people as it relates to history and what they see and go, okay, Kevin, we can't repeat this craziness over here. We've got to lean in this direction if we're going to still be on the right track. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So this is one of the things I did want to talk about, because I've been looking at it quite closely recently, is sort of the history of immigration, because we've got ICE out patrolling. We've got all this language about how illegal immigrants, or worse names that they get called, are these violent criminals who need to be deported and who are huge threats to American life. And the language echoes back to the other peak of American immigration, which was, to nerd out, from 1881, when there were dramatic pogroms in the Pale of Settlement of Europe, where Jews were forced to live in the Russian Empire. Well, the pogroms went, and if you saw Fiddler on the Roof, they burned down the villages. All the Jews fled. They joined a lot of Italians and other Central Europeans, and they came in huge numbers to the United States. And for about 45 years, until the middle of the 1920s, when there was immigration acts passed in the 1920s, we had large numbers of immigrants. Million immigrants a year were coming to the United States. And in the 1920s, we passed immigration restriction laws, is what they're called. Two big ones, one in 1924 and another one that tightened things up even more in 1929. And it was to keep them out. It was to keep the Jews and keep the Catholics and keep these Southern European and Eastern European Americans out, because they're dangerous criminals who are bringing their smelly foods. Now we love the smell of garlic. Americans thought garlic was horrible, right? Now everybody loves Jewish delicatessen. Back then it was these weird foods, and these Jews were working on Sundays because it wasn't their day of Sabbath. These people are un-American, right?
Yep.
These were the arguments and the language that we were hearing. And after immigration restriction, it lasted for 40 years through World War II up until 1965, when we opened up the immigration laws with the Immigration Act in 1965, passed under President Lyndon B. Johnson. And that allowed an increase in immigration, especially from Asia, especially from Latin America, and especially from Africa. And since then, in the last 50 years, we've had this slow tick of immigration. So the numbers are back up, which is kind of interesting, because the numbers now parallel what we saw at the turn of the 20th century, 125 years ago. But our country is twice the population as it was then.
Yeah.
So the percentage of immigrants is smaller. So I got interested. I said, well, is this sort of a normal cycle? When you have these huge numbers of immigrants coming, is it expected that a population is going to push back? So I started looking at the recent data, the last 25 years of data, on how Americans feel about immigrants. And Richard, what I found was really interesting, and it lines up with this project that you and I have talked about called the Rule of 60, which is, just to state it really quickly for our listeners, that on most issues, if you dig into the issues in American life, whether that issue is abortion or whether that issue is free press or immigration in this particular case, you'll get about 20% or less of Americans on one extreme end, let's say the far right, and 20% of Americans on the far left saying no boundaries, no borders in the case of immigration. But about 60% of Americans are in the middle of that bell curve, and they've got some sort of responsible explanation for what they want to see in the case of immigration. So immigration falls right in my rule of 60. So I was pleased to find that my hypothesis proved true. And what I found was really interesting. So what I found was, if you ask Americans, do you think immigrants who are in the United States illegally should be deported, which is kind of a political question, yes or no. You might as well say, are you a Republican or are you a Democrat? You get a pretty close split, 50-50 split, sometimes 55 to 45, something like that. But all of a sudden, all these partisan divisions come up. And so, someone like Donald Trump, he wins in this particular case because he's creating this us versus them kind of politics. But if you go further down in the polling data, and I study this stuff from Gallup, I study this stuff from Pew, I study this stuff from Ipsos, all the major polling companies, what you get is a couple things that I found that were super interesting. One, immigration is not normally, for the last 25 to 45 years, been a really important topic in Americans' lives, except when Donald Trump is running for president. And then you have these huge spikes because he's stirring the pot, creating this fear of immigrants. And then all of a sudden you get 25 to 30% of Americans all of a sudden out of nowhere who think immigration is one of the biggest problems facing our country. And then you ask during those years, what is the quality of the immigrants? Well, they're all criminals in hugely disproportionate numbers. So, most of the Americans who say this, they're being duped. This is not something that they believed before Donald Trump. They're being duped into believing this, and they are reporting it. And so that's what they believe. So another second finding that I found really, really interesting is if you get past this dual question, are you, for immigrants who are here illegally staying, or do you want to deport them, which is a political question that you get a 50-50 split. If you ask them questions, do you think immigrants, illegal or legal, provide value to the United States? The answer is overwhelmingly yes, they provide value. Do you think that there should be pathways to citizenships for immigrants who have not committed violent crimes? Overwhelming number of Americans, Republicans and Democrats, think there should be clear pathways to citizenships. Would you be in favor, instead of using money to support ICE or military intervention against immigrants, to use that money to hire more judges, to enhance the legal system that can deal with refugees, that can deal with immigrants at the border? Overwhelming numbers of Americans, Republicans, and Democrats say, yes, that's how money should be spent to handle the immigration problem such that it is. So what I found is the rule of 60 again, with only 20% or even less, and the polling data that just came out today that you'll see on the front of the newspaper suggests that this is true. Overwhelming numbers of Americans think ICE is not the way to handle immigration. They've gone too far. They are actually stirring up trouble when it comes to the issue of immigration. Huge numbers of Americans, both Democrats and Republicans, think if we're going to address this problem, we need to do it responsibly by providing more legal pathways and more legal resources for this to be dealt with, and having clear pathways to citizenships for immigrants who are here illegally, but who are just sending their kids to school, getting jobs, trying to provide what we used to call the American dream to as many people as possible. So it upheld my rule of 60, but it was shocking to me how far over to this extreme that the current administration is expecting Americans to go with them. And what we're seeing, we've got a general strike today in Minneapolis. Americans are not eager to go along with this. It's just pushed too far, and it is just upholding this minority view in American life.
Well, and this is why I'm so excited about this year, 2026, being one where you and I get to use the rule of 60 as part of our baseline for our conversation and foundation, because it shows the polarization that's there, depending on the subject matter and the topic. But it also shows that if we really do believe in moving our democracy forward and protecting it and protecting humanity and dignity, that if we can at least look at that 60%, that middle, that we might be able to create that path and keep that path open and potentially drive that number down and have a rule of 70. I don't take away from the name, but and the work. One of the things that popped into my brain is when you were describing the nuance of what we should be doing when it comes to immigration. Essentially, what you laid out, Professor, is what was in large measure the bill that was a bipartisan bill that Joe Biden, as much hell as Joe Biden caught and still catches about he left the borders open. That bill, that was a bipartisan bill, and Senator Langford from Oklahoma even said it was the worst decision that the Republicans in the House made. Mike Johnson was pimped out by Donald, so we know that's the reason that didn't happen prior to him even being reelected. But that was what you described was a larger part of that bill. More money for judges, all the things that would allow a major fix was ready. And so I think that some of the opportunity for the Democrats, and again, adding some partisan to this to make a point, is that they have to kind of go back and talk about that bill did break down the things that needed to happen and the funding that was necessary. And if we were there, because we're not even there with that, what ICE is doing is not even close to what that bill was trying to break down and show and get into law, which would have actually been a better fix than what we're dealing with right now.
Absolutely. And yeah, Richard, this stuff isn't hidden. I dig up this data. This data comes from stories, and our politicians, if we want to think that they're good people acting in the best interest of our country, which is what one hopes politicians are in that business for, as opposed to getting themselves rich and powerful, they know this stuff. That's why that bill that it went pretty far along until Donald Trump basically said, no, we can't give Joe Biden a win on this issue because this is the issue that's going to propel me into the White House. He correctly predicted that,
yeah.
He correctly predicted that. But what would have been better for the common American? What would have been better for the commonweal? What would have been what most Americans actually want? I just found the data to prove that would have been in that bill. So I think this is one reason most Americans are so furious and so frustrated with our politicians, because it seems fairly clear what the vast majority of Americans want on any given issue. And yet politicians would rather stoke the fires of polarization, stoke the fires of discord, and win every election, 50% plus one voter, as opposed to doing things that are in the common interest. So to get to your point, I think there's a lot of room for the Democratic Party to speak to this rule of 60, this center of American life, if we want to call it the center. I think centrists, of course, I wrote a whole book about it, have a bad name out there, these liberal centrists or whatever. But I do think on some issues, the center of what Americans believe would actually operate on the far left of our American political possible window. So, for instance, on economic redistribution, basically Americans overwhelmingly, the rule of 60, think that Bernie Sanders has the right manner in which we should redistribute the economy. That's considered a radical position in our politics today, but instead it's actually a normal position for Americans who overwhelmingly believe that. Well, kind of fascinating.
Well, but see, here's the thing, and the nuance there, in case you guys didn't catch this, it's one of those put your pen down and just listen to the professor for a moment, is that the numbers back up the policy. If I'm saying, I know what I'm seeing, Professor, is that the numbers say that we want to see a better distribution of wealth and access and resources. And one of the things last night from my time at the town hall, that was clear from each of the candidates that's what they're hearing in this congressional race for Congress, that people want to see a redistribution of not just wealth, but resources. And that's not that they're different, but they are applied differently. Wealth is one thing. Resources are day-to-day living tools that can allow people to propel themselves into the middle class and beyond. And it's the resource distribution that I believe, to your point, the 60% of the country is saying, yeah, we got to do this differently. And that then the left, that's seemingly more radical, will go, yeah, that's what we've been talking about. So, yeah, it's nuanced, but the data is there to back it up. And this is the reason that we're back on schedule to have you on, have us be together every couple of weeks, because I'm looking at the clock going, damn, that went by fast.
We didn't get to talk about the bonus army, the general strikes, American democracy waking up, but we'll do it again.
Dr. Kevin Schultz, I like to call him Doc. Y'all know me by now. Professor Kevin Schultz, chair of the Department of History and author of the wonderful book. Y'all need to get a copy of this. Read it and then share it with somebody that you know that fits this category. Why Everyone Hates White Liberals, including white liberals. Thanks for hanging out with us, Doc. Have a good weekend. Stay safe, and we appreciate all that you do.
Thanks so much. And everybody, give your elderly friends out there a hug. They're angry right now, so let's get them fired up.
That's right. Thanks, Doc. Have a good weekend.
All right, take care, Richard.
All right, bye-bye. Bye-bye. 773-763-9278 is the number. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT AM 820 in Chicago and WARR 1520 AM and 103.5 FM. From Warren County, North Carolina, I'm Richard Chu. We'll be right back.
Margaret is a 71-year-old widow who came to Brookfield Tax Planning because she was worried her accountant and financial advisor weren't doing enough to reduce her taxes. During their free, no-obligation tax reduction review, it was revealed that Margaret had been overpaying $7,250 each year since her husband passed. $102,000 lost forever due to a lack of proactive tax planning. Her accountant does returns after the year is over when it's too late. Her advisor handles her investments but doesn't reduce her taxes. Once the year ends, tax reduction options shrink to almost nothing. Retirees and business owners should plan ahead now using legal, proactive strategies to slash taxes. Stop overpaying. 94% of Brookfield's new clients are shocked that they've been paying too much every year. Call Brookfield Tax Planning at 708-485-3439 or visit BrookfieldTaxPlanning.com for your free review. You have nothing to lose. That's BrookfieldTaxPlanning.com.
Stephanie Miller here. If eating is stressing you out, you're not alone. There's so much confusion around food. One day something's good for you, the next day it's not. No wonder digestion can feel chaotic. What I learned from the Tummy Whisperer is reassuring your body isn't broken, it's communicating. It needs proper guidance. That's why I trust Renee Barish at Digestive Health Solutions as a certified digestive health specialist. Renee works one-to-one, helping people make sense of their symptoms without extremes or overwhelming them. If you've changed your diet and feel the same or worse, if bloating, reflux, constipation, diarrhea, and low energy are running your life, Renee will help you connect the dots. Digestion will calm down, food can feel easy again, and you don't have to figure it all out alone. You've got the Tummy Whisperer. Learn more at thetummywhisperer.com or call Renee at 847-207-2034. One more time, that's 847-207-2034. Let's get you feeling better.
You're listening to WCPT 820. Here's the latest Chicago weather update.
Here's your weatherology forecast. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme cold warning remains in effect, then a cold weather advisory goes into effect Friday afternoon. We'll see a few spotty flurries at times here early today, then skies will become mostly sunny with a high around 0. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Then for tonight, we'll see increasing clouds, a low near -7. Saturday, a chance for some snow here, cloudy skies, a high around 10 above. That's your latest Chicago weather update. Right now, 8 below.
Because facts matter. You're listening to WCPT 820.
This is Chew's Views with Richard Chew.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Quite a morning. We just had a chance to speak with Professor Kevin Schultz, who is just fantastic. Catch his book, Why Everybody Hates White Liberals, Including White Liberals. And before that, Jody Hamilton and Shawn Peirce from the Politics Bar and our good friend Karen Byrne from TruBlu Politics Podcast. And the train just keeps moving along. This guy... sometimes I feel like, I need to get him and give him a big hug, not for any reasons other than he just works his behind off to be out there talking to everybody, keeping the conversation moving forward and fighting hard. And that's why, I said everybody, we don't have to agree with everybody on everything in every way, in every moment. But when you know somebody's out there fighting, you got to get behind them and help them. And who am I talking about? The creator, the founder, the entrepreneur, the host of Endless Urgency, Mike Nellis. Good morning, Mike, and welcome to Chew's Views.
Hey, buddy, how are you?
I'm good, man. I'm cold as hell, just like you. Well, I shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I don't know. You might be in South Florida right now, but
no, I'm in my basement. It's cold as hell out here. So I am thinking about getting a copy of Why Everybody Hates White Liberals.
Man, you got to get. Listen, man, you got to get it. I'm just going to tell you, going to get yourself a copy, or I'll figure out how to get one for you. But it is a really good read. And it's not.
Is it bad that my reaction to it was not all white liberals?
No, because that listen, you're blushing but that's kind of the thing. It's how do I, as a black dude, I sit back and chuckle, and Karen Byrne and I have had some great conversations on air and off air about it. But the baseline of what he's talking about, and it does reach into history and talk about how we got to certain types of conversation and policy. But it's just a good read, and it does. There's some parts in it that make you laugh and go, "Yeah, I know folks like that." And you and your experience, I know you've experienced run across those people, but
sure. Well, it reminds me of one of my business partners at my consulting business. She's a woman of color. She often calls me best case scenario white man, which I think is hilarious.
Well, listen, you know this as well as I do. It's always good to have a black woman in your crowd because they will keep you straight, and I'm a product of that, and I'm very, very thankful for the sisters that I have in my life. And I say this, and you and I we joke about stuff because we trust each other. I say that to all my good white friends: have a sister in your universe, because when you're doing the good work that you're doing, they will help you keep that moving forward. I played Loretta Lynch's a clip from her speak at Abyssinian on King Day, and she talked about why they're coming after our vote. They wouldn't be if it didn't matter. And they wouldn't be coming back after any of us, of any community, if what we're trying to do didn't matter. So it speaks to the work that we're trying to do, the things we're trying to do, and the work we're putting in. But listen, man, let me pivot. We know it's cold as hell, and we know that we deal with climate change and all those things that are out there. But ICE is catching hell in Minneapolis right now, as they should. You and I haven't talked since the beginning. Did we? Yeah, we talked right at the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
But ICE is starting to catch a little hell from the people of Minneapolis and the state at large. And Keith Ellison is very quietly letting it be known, you come after me, we got enough to come after you as well. So talk a little bit about what your observations have been the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not just the people of Minnesota. I mean, the polling on ICE, they're hugely unpopular. Like, first time I've ever seen a poll where a majority of Americans say that they want to abolish ICE.
Yeah.
First time I think I've ever seen a poll where a plurality of respondents say that any law enforcement organization makes the situation less safe in a major American city. So and you know this, is like the way that the American people are so pro-police and pro-law enforcement, the idea of ever turning them that far in the opposite direction. If you told me that a year ago, I wouldn't have believed you. I would have bought the economy. I would have bought the foreign policy stuff. I would have bought Trump's unpopularity, but not him being 17 points underwater on immigration. And I'm just going to give you a bit of a conversation I had with a right-wing talk show host that I texted with yesterday. And he was like, Mike, it's the optics. They can't get away from the optics. It just looks bad. And I'm like, no, it doesn't look bad. It is bad. That's why people are upset. They arrested a 5-year-old kid. They shot a woman in the head when she didn't deserve to be shot. And then I would argue the shooting's horrific. Let me be clear. But politically, the response to the shooting was also just horrific. Because they called her a domestic terrorist. They lied about the situation. They put themselves in the way of an investigation. Vance yesterday having to go to Minneapolis to try to clean up his own mess of talking about immunity and stuff like that. Like, it's an embarrassing situation for them. And there's just no restraint from them in understanding why they want or what people wanted. And they've taken it too far. And I don't know. I don't think they know their way out.
There it is. They don't know their way out because you and I could tell them, you're a strategist. I'm just a common sense guy that listens. The easiest way out, or to make your way back home, as my mother used to say, is just to say, I made a mistake and stop and turn around. This is
ease up a little bit. That's it. Ease up a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, don't.
Right. Yeah, I mean, they listen. People may still say we want to abolish ICE. People may still say you all are crazy. You're off the range. Whatever the language is. But if they just were to say, you know what, we went down the wrong path. We need to turn around and go back. People would at least go, okay, thank God they changed course a little bit. But they're not. They seem to be more concerned about protecting the image now, and they're ramping up their activity and getting more craven. I mean, what's going to be next? They're going to bring out some grandmother out of her wheelchair, out of her house?
They've already done that one.
Yeah, that's true.
Obviously, like, Renee Good's murder was terrible. Arresting 5-year-old kid was terrible. I'm forever fixated on the video of the woman here in Chicago who was dragged out of her car while picking up her kids. Like that one is, I don't know why that would
get the seatbelt off of her. That's the thing. Yes. She was catching, her throat was getting caught on the seatbelt.
And I'm pretty sure she was a legal resident too. Like, it wasn't, they're just indiscriminately grabbing people. But let's talk about the word restraint, because that is, I think, the most important word when you talk about the Trump administration. And let's set ICE aside for a second. Let's go back to Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was brutally assassinated in public. It was horrific and traumatic for the nation. And the right's response was to double, triple down on all their hate talk and blame all of the left when they didn't know anything. And it was really disgusting. And what they did was, within about a week, they had blown every bit of goodwill they had with the broader American people and the left that wanted to come together and go, this was horrible. Hey, we didn't like Charlie Kirk, but this was bad. They can't do it. Anytime anything happens, they immediately go to the same playbook, which is to treat Democrats like domestic terrorists, attack the American people, lie about everything. And it's the economy, and people are sick of it, and they're onto it now. I don't think there's any way out.
One of the things that to your point about Charlie Kirk, Reverend Al Sharpton, even, he was like, listen, I've been there when people have been assassinated in my lifetime. And he said, and so for us to do anything other than to say that was awful and horrible for all of us as a nation, the nation can't heal unless we recognize that is the wrong way to deal with opposition. And they still fumbled that. When people are saying, listen, we're trying to be empathetic and sympathetic, some people were empathetic because they've experienced it. And so you're right. I don't know. And this is not meant to sound disrespectful, but I don't want them to politically, not based on their actions. I don't want ICE to find their way out of this.
Right.
Okay. Politically, I don't want them to. I want them to continue to F up. Socially and spiritually and humanitarian in ways, we have to force them out of this just carnage that they're causing. And I honestly, Mike, and I'll put this, I'll give you the baton on this. I don't know what that is going to look like, other than we have to deal with this craziness for the next 9-10 months until we get to the midterms and take back the House. And they just shut ICE down monetarily. So between now and then, because there's a lot of things that are going to happen in the world, certainly in the country between now and then. Weather's going to change. Spring and summer are going to be here and warmer in the northern parts of the country. ICE is going to probably ramp up their activity. We've got these different events that are going to be taking place. And I said something, Mike, that I want to get your take on this. About voting and the midterms. And people are talking about, are we going to have midterms and this, that, and the other? And we know that I believe we are. I won't say we know that we will, but I believe that we will, because they're state run and we know the whole process behind that. My concern with ICE, and this is why if I have a concern about the midterms, is that from a voter suppression standpoint, that they will say that they found information that there's XYZ going on at polling places, and that they show up in mass at polling sites in various states. That, to me, is how I think ICE could be the problem when we get to the midterms. Am I reaching there, or is that something that you've even put any thought to?
I worry about it too. I always say to people, like, we're going to have free elections. I don't know if we're going to have fair elections, but I would argue we didn't have fair elections before Donald Trump. So it's a whole separate conversation. But I think that if there's a close election where that type of meddling can make a difference, they will absolutely try to do it. They'll try to seize a ballot box. They'll try to, they're definitely going to lie. Like, look, every bit of available polling suggests the Democrats have an 8 to 10 point lead in the generic ballot. We should sweep over the House in that. By the way, their gerrymandering scheme where the Republicans decided to, gerrymander mid-district has blown up in their faces. Democrats responded so effectively that we picked up a net seat, according to the math on this, which I think is objectively the funniest outcome.
Like we didn't what's the word? We didn't fumble at the goal line on that one, did we?
No, it's actually nice to see the Democratic Party execute a plan once in a while. My God, I didn't know it was possible. But, so we should take back the House. I think the Senate is probably like 50-50 now. Like Mary Peltola running in Alaska is tremendous for the Democrats.
Yeah. Roy
Cooper is going to dominate in North Carolina. So I think, to me, it's the more that Democrats can do an effective job of defining this president and running good Democratic candidates that are ideal for their district, who rise above the Democratic Party brand. And sometimes that rising above the Democratic Party brand means saying things that are going to make the average Democrat angry.
Right.
Like, for instance, I love Mary Peltola. I don't work on that race. But like, she's going to take a few votes and she's going to say a few things that are going to make me want to pull my hair out.
Yeah.
Not as bad as a Joe Manchin, but that's going to happen. And that's because it's Alaska, and I accept that. So if we do that and give them the space for that, it's going to be good. And I think we'll have an outside chance of taking it between Cooper in North Carolina, Sherrod Brown in Ohio, Peltola in Alaska, and then, this situation with the Maine Senate primary between Plattner and Mills. I don't know what the right choice is in that. I'll just let the people in Maine decide.
Yeah.
Because that's a bit of a mess. But
what do you think is going to happen in Iowa? Is there an outside chance there? Because what's her name?
I think Iowa and Texas are the two, and Nebraska too, with Dan Osborne, because Osborne's running as an independent. I think Iowa and Texas are the second tier of what I think could flip here. And it's because they're about R+10 states. So let's assume the midterm swing is 8 points. That makes it an R+2 environment in those states.
And then you've got
in Iowa, you've got real statewide scandals for the Republicans, so bad that the Republican governor had to not run for re-election, Kim Reynolds.
Right.
We have good candidates running the primary. And then in Texas, the lieutenant governor is likely going to win that primary for the Republicans. He's a lunatic. I think that could cost you a couple points. And I think Democrats have a hard choice to make between Jasmine Crockett and James Talarico. And I love them both, but no offense to Jasmine Crockett, I don't like the campaign that she's running. And I think Talarico will perform better. And
I got to say this.
He's got to win that primary.
I'm gonna probably get in some trouble here when I don't really care, but I'm just speaking the truth. When I sit back and I look as objectively as I can to the race in Texas, and let me do some business first. You're listening to Choose Views on WCPT, AM 820 in Chicago, and WARR 1520, AM and 103.5 FM from Warren County, North Carolina. I'm Richard Chu, and we're talking with our good friend Mike Nellis, Endless Urgency, and all the other great stuff that he does. All right, Texas.
I appreciate how smooth you are at doing that, because when I host every now and again, I'm like, fumbling for my papers, trying to find it. It's a mess.
Hey man, listen, I'm thankful that I've got good folks around me with Henry and with Mike and all the rest that keep it moving. So that's the upside. So, all right, Texas.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to fall in line with what you just said. That's what I've been quietly observing and just trying to think, like, okay, what's going to happen there? Now, at the end of the day, I said this last night at the town hall. I said to the 5 candidates, I said, listen, a win for us is a win for the country. So we just need to win in all places. And I said, all of you guys are great candidates. And I don't have a favorite, and neither should I. I'm the moderator here. But I said to the audience, Mike, we have to win. And in cases where we may not be in love with the candidate necessarily, or that's not our total pick, who gives a damn right now? We got to get the wins in. I know that we could have the argument of the conversation back and forth about he, she, whatever is better here, but ultimately we have to win. So, Jasmine and James, I don't know how that's going to turn out, but I think what you said is probably, from an analytical standpoint and how the campaign is being run, I think that that's going to be the difference. It's not that she's better or worse than him or vice versa. It's how they're running their campaigns. And I think that that's what people sometimes do miss, is how the campaign is being run. What they get distracted by that takes them away from actually campaigning, if that makes any sense. And unfortunately, what I'm observing with Representative Crockett, who I love the how she puts the heat to people. I think that unfortunately she's going to be saddled with the distractions of the things that she leaned into prior to announcing her run that are going to be part of the issue for her as she goes forward. That's my observation. I could be wrong as two left shoes, and it's not talking about the quality of who she is as an attorney, as a congresswoman, as a woman, but I think that supersedes the racial component that people want to put to this and the gender component. Does that make sense what I just said? I know I just threw you a lot.
It does. And like, I know I say this as a white man, but like, I love Jasmine Crockett, and like my decision about like, if I had a vote, I would vote for Tallarico, really has nothing to do with race or gender on that. And I think you find a lot of people who throw that at you to kind of like defend themselves from the legitimate critiques that people have about her candidacy. But like, look, I've interviewed Crockett before. I talked to her at the State of the Union last year for my social media, and like, she's really smart and she's funny and she's personable, but she's also built a reputation as a firebrand, which is not the kind of thing that typically succeeds in a statewide Republican state like Texas.
Right.
B, I really don't like the way her campaign has framed things, and I think she's been given some bad advice. Go just in a vacuum, remove the candidates for a second. Read a plain speech of how Jasmine Crockett is talking and how James Tallarico is talking. Tallarico's entire campaign is about you. What's going on to you, what's happening to you, what's hurting you, what you're struggling with. And Crockett's campaign is very much like, this is what Donald Trump said about me, and these people suck. And I just kind of like, people are going to naturally gravitate to somebody who puts your issues at the center of the campaign. And if you look at Crockett's launch video, her launch video is beautiful. It's very well shot, but it's just like her and a camera like panning around her. And it's just Donald Trump saying nasty things about her. And to me, that's a strategic mistake. And it tells me that it's not a serious campaign designed to win Texas. And then I'll add one more thought too, because the week that she launched, she went on CNN. I think she was on Lauren Coates' show. And actually, I know she was on Lauren Coates' show because I followed her. But she said something along the lines like, Lauren asked her, how are you going to win over people that voted for Donald Trump? Because this is a Republican state and you got to win. And she goes, we don't have to win over people that voted for Donald Trump. Like, we're going to build such a progressive, exciting campaign that so many people are going to turn out that haven't voted before. And because of that, we're going to build a whole new electorate in Texas. And I'm like, man, I wish it worked that way. I wish you could do that. And I think that's the lesson that sometimes the left gets from like Mamdani's election. They go, wow, look at all these people who voted the Democratic primary. And I'm like, that's New York City.
Yeah.
That's not the same as Texas. And like, you do have to win over Trump voters to win these states. And I know that's an uncomfortable truth for a lot of Democrats, but you have to do that. And so for Crockett to not even say, I'm going to do that, I'm going to try to do that, here's my plan, just gives me a lot of pause and makes me go, I don't think this is a serious candidacy. Doesn't mean I don't like her, though. I like her a lot.
I think it's a serious candidacy, but I would take a little bit of measure with that. I think it's a serious candidacy, but I think the approach is one that's going to, and it's just us being as honest as we can be. I do think that in Texas, it's going to be a thing that's going to turn off more people than it'll turn on. And so when I heard it, that's how it struck me. And I've got family in Texas, and I know you probably have some family and certainly some good friends and colleagues. That's how it struck me. I was like, oh, damn. That's going to probably tick off just enough people that possibly would have said, yeah, I'm tired of Donald Trump. And I like how she's handling him, and I voted for him. But then for her to turn around and say, but I don't need those Trump voters, that's the part where I used to say this about Dennis Rodman. Dennis Rodman was the man. But I used to say, I wish I were in his camp so I could stop him from stepping on his you-know-what. And so that's how it hit me. And y'all got to understand that this is not meant to be guy talk. I'm just speaking from how it made me feel in that moment. And then I add into the political strategy conversation around it. But enough about dragging on her. We got to win down.
I just want to be clear. Like, I love Jasmine Crockett. I think she's great. I'm really concerned about the way she's put her candidacy together. And I worry about there's a broader issue on the left of thinking that we can get back into power and accomplish the things that we want to do without ever winning somebody over that voted for Donald Trump in 2024. And that is just factually inaccurate. Like, there are his approval rating is in the high 30s. There are so many people that are interested and willing to what we have to say. We got to go talk to them. We got to give them something. And I just think, I always put it to people, if you'll just indulge me one more second, I'm sorry.
No.
I put it to people like this all the time, is we talk about, and it's 100% true, like black women being the backbone of the Democratic Party, and they absolutely are. I don't want to say anything that undercuts that. But if you look at the raw total numbers in the election, twice as many white men voted for Kamala Harris than black women, because that's the demographics of the country.
It's the numbers.
And if you want to bring Roe v. Wade back, if you want to undo this madness, if you want to moderate our politics, get rid of the tariffs, et cetera, you need a lot of white men to come. And it doesn't mean we abandon our allies. I don't want to do that, but you got to go get those people. And that's true for so many different demographics, particularly young men. So we got to reach out.
It is the epitome of walking and chewing gum at the same time. We've got to hold on. And this is the message that so that you all that are out there that are losing your minds right now that say that Richard and Mike are trashing the Democratic Party or specifically Jasmine Crockett. We're not. What we're saying is, let me cut through for those in the cheap seats. We are saying we hold on like our dear lives to the base. And then we go get the others that are saying, hey, wait a minute, I don't quite like this. I need to find another spot to hang out. In many cases, that happens to be white men that voted for Trump and many other groups. It's a big A challenge. I almost said the wrong word. It's a big A challenge. Mike's laughing like, damn, I almost got him.
If I get you to curse on your show before me, that would be a miracle. So.
But it's the challenge that's in front of us, and we got to face it. We got to recognize it. And that's like I said at the beginning of the year, and I'm going to say it all year. It doesn't mean we trash Democrats. There's lots of we got to do to fix. We know that, but it means we protect the base. We take care of that base like nobody's business. And then we go out and we get as many other folks that are saying, yeah, man, I'm tired of this. I need a different direction. And that's my way of helping the people in the cheap seats understand that Mike and I are not trashing the Democratic Party, and neither are we trashing Jasmine Crockett. Listen, man,
politics is a game of addition. Okay, it's yes and. It's
yes
not
and.
No.
Yes and. I agree. So listen, as always, you and I could keep talking and going. We could do an entire 2 or 3 hours on what's happening, and maybe we'll do that. We might just do that, Mike. We might just make that happen.
I'll come in and co-host with you. That's not on a night. That's not on a morning where it's negative 40 degrees outside.
Hey, man, I told Karen to stay home today. I didn't tell Karen. She decided to stay home, and I agreed. But that being said, Taco, come on, man, bring it home. Bring it home.
This is about Greenland. I mean, he laid down like a dog on Greenland. It was
hey, man, no. Hold up, Mike. You can't disparage dogs like that because dogs are, come on, man. No. You got to, he laid down like the punk you know what that he is. Just like Kristen Teigen said.
I think it's hilarious. And it's funny. I was laughing with my wife about it. I'm like, it's no win scenario. I spent weeks going, this is stupid and you should back down. But then the way he backed down made him look even worse. So, but no, he goes to the World Economic Forum. He talks tough on Greenland. Well, he talks tough on Iceland because he can't tell the difference between the two. Leif Erikson strikes again on that. But, he embarrassed himself, and Europe United stood up to him, which, by the way, like any foreign policy analyst would have told you, that's exactly what Europe would do there, because that's exactly what they did when Putin tried to steal Ukraine. So there's already precedent for it. So it's just bad. It's bad public policy. And then the way that he did what he always does, which is that they came up with a framework to get out of the scenario where he could claim victory. And they're like, it's like Denmark says that they'll let us put any military installation we want there to build our big golden dome. And like, they'd already agreed to do that. They were already doing that. So like, it's stupid. And again, he's so fixated on legacy and like getting himself in the history books and doing this kind of crazy stuff that like, he can't do the basics. Like, he was elected to lower grocery prices and housing prices, and he done nothing on that. So I thought it was really funny.
Well, I mean, and I'll push back a little bit with you on that. Not push back, but I'll just add to, he really wasn't elected to lower grocery prices and gas prices. He was elected to do exactly what's happening right now, because 78 million people, I'm going to be probably 78 million people knew what they were doing. They chose to vote for it because they could have voted against it. They could have voted against the fact that this guy is actually doing what was said by strategists like you, folks like me, Vice President Harris, and so many other people inside and outside of the Beltway that said, no, that he's going to destroy stuff. Yet people still voted for it. And now, to your point, he's just quoting policy and international agreements that were already on the table.
Yeah.
So it's not even sad. It's just sort of like, all right, listen, we can go after whoever we want to go after in the Democratic Party and say things about them. But at the end of the day, what still holds true, Mike, is that the GOP, who has the levers of power right now on a federal level, they have the ability to stop this or slow this down. And they've made a decision to not do it. And I look at that and say that this is what they wanted as well. Either they don't have the courage, or they know exactly what they're doing and they're complicit. There's no middle ground. Like, well, no, it's those two options. And I think our opportunity is to keep nailing them to the wall on that, to say, you made a choice, you made this one when you knew that this over here would be a little bit better, and you decided to not go in that direction. So
yeah, my only pushback on that, and I know we're running up on time, is like there were a lot of Americans who, and to be clear, the vast majority of people who voted for Trump voted for a lot of this, to be clear. But I think there were a lot of people that were like, they voted for him despite a lot of the things that he said he was going to do, because they either believed it wouldn't happen, despite the warnings of people like you and me. And I think we went through such a terrible economic period that people were so mad. And they were also mad about, and again, I don't want to rehash this for 1,000 times.
Yeah, we can't do that anymore.
Like, no, I'm seriously, I'm so done talking about it for the rest of my life. But I think that's why, again, those people are winnable, because now they're the ones who are in the crosshairs, and we've got to, a lot of people want to scold them. I want to like reach out. And that's the
hard part. And I've got listeners that are saying that's sort of same thing. And that's where we are. We've got addition is the key word. Protect those who are in the base with all that we got. Keep them strong and solid, and then grow the numbers. And those numbers may be some of those, not maybe, it probably will be some of the people that voted against what would have been their better interest. So, Mike, deep breath, man. Stay warm, stay safe. Always great to hang out with you. Mike Nellis from Endless Urgency. We got to go. Gee, Monetti, have a good weekend. Be safe, brother. We'll talk to you soon. 773-763-9278 is the number, but you've been listening to Choose Views on WCPT. What do I say at the end of every show? Stay tuned for the Stephanie Miller Show. Take a deep breath, look at the right camera, and make your life count. We'll see you next week.
This is Tony Moret. I'm an estate planning attorney who drafts living trusts and wills for my clients. You have probably heard my ads here on WCPT for the last few years. Your fellow listeners, when we have completed their plans, say, I wish I had done this sooner. It wasn't nearly as hard as I thought it would be. We can complete your estate plan within 30 days or less. There are certainly decisions that need to be made, but my 30-plus years of experience will help guide you through this process. There may never be a perfect time to start, but whenever I'm asked when is the best time, my answer is always the same. Now is the best time, while it is on your mind. Being able to tell your family that you have an estate plan in place, that all the details have been taken care of, will be a great relief to both yourself and those you care for the most. Our initial consultation is without charge, and there is no obligation. My phone number is 847-996-0496, and my website is moreelawoffice.com, spelled M-O-R-E-E. I look forward to speaking with you.
Must qualify for enrollment. Results may vary.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now.
800-583-5795.
Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS.
Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start.
Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems.
We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau.
You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call
800-583-5795. That's 800-583-5795.
Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
File your taxes for free with TurboTax on Intuit Credit Karma. Just file on your own in the Credit Karma app by February 28th. Valid for those who didn't file with TurboTax last year.
AP News, I'm Marcela Sanchez. In Minnesota, a 5-year-old boy arriving home from preschool on Tuesday was taken by federal agents along with his father to a detention facility in Texas. Vice President J.D. Vance met with Minneapolis leaders yesterday and defended the ICE agents who detained the boy.
The father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death? Are they not supposed to arrest an illegal alien in the United States of America?
Officials at the boy's school say he was used as bait to catch the father, who has applied for asylum. Meanwhile, a group of labor unions, progressive organizations, and clergy has been urging people in Minnesota to stay away from work, school, and stores today to protest against immigration enforcement in the state. The Twin Cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul have seen daily protests since Renee Good was fatally shot by a U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement officer during an operation earlier this month. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky said the future of Ukraine's eastern Donbas region will be a key focus as negotiators from Ukraine, Russia, and the U.S. meet in Abu Dhabi today. The talks come hours after Russian President Vladimir Putin discussed the settlement in Ukraine with President Trump's envoys in Moscow overnight. To reach a deal, the Kremlin is insisting that Kiev must withdraw its troops from the areas in the east that Russia illegally annexed but never fully captured. The U.S. has finalized its withdrawal from the World Health Organization 1 year after Trump announced the U.S. was ending its 78-year-old commitment. Wall Street pointed toward small losses as markets near the end of a tumultuous week. This is AP News.
AP Sports on Gethin' Cool Ball. Aaliyah Chavez scored 15 of her 26 points in overtime, and number 16 Oklahoma upset number 2 South Carolina 94-82. NBA, Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey combined for 68 points to help the 76ers overcome Kevin Durant's 36 in a 128-122 OT win over the Rockets. Top seeds Carlos Alcaraz and Aryna Sabalenka advanced at the Australian Open. In golf, top-ranked Scottie Scheffler fired a season opening 9 under 63 at the American Express. NFL, the Ravens hired Jesse Minter as coach. Josh Allen, Trevor Lawrence, Drake May, Christian McCaffrey, and Matthew Stafford are the MVP finalists. MLB, the Mets acquired All-Star ace Freddie Peralta, and the Rangers landed All-Star starter Mackenzie Gore. Gethin' Coolbaugh, AP Sports.
And I'm Marcela Sanchez, AP News.
This is 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and streaming worldwide at WCPT820.com. We are Chicago's progressive talk, where facts matter. Now, your WCPT 820 weather update.
Here's your weatherology forecast. I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. An extreme cold warning remains in effect, then a cold weather advisory goes into effect Friday afternoon. We'll see a few spotty flurries at times here early today, then skies will become mostly sunny with a high around 0. Winds out of the northwest around 10 to 15 miles per hour, gusting as high as 30. Then for tonight, we'll see increasing clouds, a low near -7. Saturday, a chance for some snow here, cloudy skies, a high around 10 above. That's your latest Chicago weather update.
Right now, 8 below.
This is Chicago's Progressive Talk, 820 AM, WCPT Willow Springs, and online at WCPT820.com, where facts matter.
Stop your grinding with Brooks Night Guard. Are you waking up in the morning with a sore jaw, headaches, ringing in your ears, all because you're grinding and clenching your teeth at night? That's exactly what was going on with me. I ended up going to a dentist, and he wants to charge over $600 for a night guard. That's when I found the Brooks Night Guard. You mold it at home to the top or bottom teeth. Other mouth guards go all the way to the back, which allows the back teeth to touch. This is where most of the grinding and clenching occurs. The Brooks Night Guard redirects the bite force away from the back teeth, reducing jaw pain while still protecting the teeth. This unique design is what makes Brooks Night Guard different from all other traditional grind guards. Order your Brooks Night Guard today and get 10% off plus free shipping. Go to brooksnightguard.com and enter the code BROOKS91. That's BRUX91. Stop your grinding with Brooks Night Guard.
Hey Progressives, it's Richard Chu, host of Chu's Views weekdays 6 to 8 a.m. Central. We're all anxious for the 2026 midterm election to arrive so we can restore some sanity and much needed oversight to our government. In fact, it's the most important midterm election in American history, and Chu's Views will be in the thick of it, bringing you candidate interviews on a regular basis. I'll be talking to Democratic Party hopefuls running for House and Senate at the federal and state level, as well as candidates for governor and other state and local offices.
I am in love with our ability to fight for our rights, to fight for our future, to fight for our freedoms, to fight as our ancestors fought. It's just our moment. This is just our time to stand up and to speak up. We can't give up on this.
If you miss any of the interviews live, you'll be able to find them all on WCPT's Candidate Interviews page at heartlandsignal.com/candidates. That's Choose Views weekdays from 6 to 8 a.m. on WCPT, Chicago's progressive talk for 20 years.
Hey Google, play WCPT.
Streaming Chicago's progressive